There is a lot happening right now in the cryptocurrency market. But I would say if you're a serious investor in this market, you are up for some surprises. And for sure, this is going to be a detailed video on what is coming your way because this, I think, is huge. Why? I'll actually explain all those factors and take you guys through the right understanding of all the recent developments. Because when you understand, okay, that's happening on one side, where do you position yourself? Because this kind of shows you the direction where institutions, whales, central banks all are headed. When you read through all these articles, you kind of get the idea where this is actually going. It really gives you a clear perspective of what has happened and what is happening right now so that you can prepare. Because even Wall Street is kind of showing you, yeah, it's true, this is coming on. But when you do your research, you kind of get a little bit more detail into which direction we are going. Because they've been building and right now they're getting a lot of adoption. And these adoptions are not that small scale stuff. What we are talking about is a huge change in value structure. That means as you jump on and look through all of this, you would be like, okay, what the hell is that, right? But don't worry, we're going to break it down so that you understand it on the easy side. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. If you are looking for opportunities in the market, you can look at the Patreon. The link is in the description below, where we are going through a lot of these opportunity calls, looking through a lot of different assets, watching through a lot of different opportunities. Now, let's dive into this. We're actually watching a lot of updates on the crypto Twitter or the X.com about the Ether. And it does feel a little bit sketchy when you actually go through all this. And if you remember, we've been talking about this perspective for some time. Now, John actually gives you an idea like, okay, look at this. October is going to be nuts. Now, on what narrative? Is it going to the downside? Is it going to the upside? Everyone will have different opinion, but you need to first look at this is the economical side of things. This is what the financial markets would actually look like, right? That kind of gives you the ability to understand which direction we are going. So when you actually take on these historical data and take a couple of minutes, you're like, okay, Jan to July, August to September, when you have done these, remember, when you have done these, which are similar to the history, the October, November, December kind of looks like this. So the October to December, usually in those range, are positive. It's good. That kind of gives you an understanding which direction we may actually go based on the history. And then if things are happening like this, meaning, we are literally getting screwed on that side of the economy, that means chances are that we are going to most likely see some kind of an economical shock. Here, if you actually watch Rebel Capitalist, it was actually like Gavin was actually giving you the idea 1 quadrillion derivatives. That's a real big time bomb, and that can shake the financial system. And when you actually see Bank of International Settlements giving you the idea that people are actually moving into different areas. This is Swiss, and they are actually moving into the domestic side of banks. They're actually moving a lot out of the international banking system. They're kind of going more into the domestic side. Now, all these perspectives which I'm sharing, it's in the Twitter or the X.com. If you're in the platform, hit that follow button so you get to know every idea as soon as I share it. Now, when you actually watch all this, you need to ask the question like, okay, if that's happening, what are they warning about? Now, this is one side. You need to be prepared for this with proper emergency fund and then the right assets. If Warren Buffett is doing this, you need to ask that question, okay, what is he really preparing for? Last time he prepared for this, yeah, it took like a year, but that year the market dropped in 2020 with the pandemic. But understand the fact, Yeah, during that year, the market, first year, while he was waiting, the market went up and everyone was screaming like this guy is out of touch. But what happened? Eventually, it dropped. So most likely, if this guy is holding on to $100 billion plus on cash, I'm like, okay, that makes some sense. Maybe in next 6 months, maybe in a year, he's expecting some huge shift in the financial market. There is going to be a drop for sure. And then you actually watch countries like this where, I'm like, that's interesting. Even if you are the top 10% earner, you are not going to get a mortgage. Whoa, that's something huge. Now, why am I highlighting all these factors for those who are interested in crypto? Because crypto itself is an investment. And if you understand this is what's happening in the economy, you need to position yourself well enough. And that's one of the primary reasons why I think this particular tweet from Kevin Cage kind of has a lot of value. Shout out to this guy. Future is tokenized. The real estate, the arts, like the NFTs, we're all looking at almost everything coming onto that idea. It all boils down to that range. And then we actually watch through the real life institutional movements of tokenization. You literally get to see a lot of it is actually coming onto the XRP ledger. And there is a reason for that. When you read through all this, you kind of easily get the understanding, okay, that means Ether has been used for a long time. XRP was slowed down with the SEC issue. But then when you actually start reading through this, it's like there are over 1 million transactions a day now with 2.6 billion transactions. Whoa, that is more than Ethereum. And I'm like, okay, that means this is scalable, it's interoperable, it's cheap. The friction is zero, kind of zero. And that means, it's much better option than these Ether. Now, yeah, the smart contracts ability is what make Ether a little bit special. Now you do have connections to the XRP ledger to get that ability. So what you're watching here is that the infrastructure of the current financial system is changing. Read this. Even with the larger top 20 banks in the world, are having an active blockchain strategy, and tokenization is one of the key areas they are looking into. That is important because they are talking about big sums of money. BlackRock said this is going to be the next generation for the financial market. And if we don't position ourselves, it's going to be fishy because, the market is going to take off. Now, not only saying like, XRP is the only asset which is going to go sky high. There will be other assets which get attention in that time. That's one of the reasons why I go through all these assets, give you guys the right idea about that, because some of these assets may look a lot bullish in the news, but not in the technical side. It may show you, I'm going down. It may not be the right time. That is something you have to keep your eyes focused on. Now, some of the concerns which you are looking at is, yeah, we are at the support. We are just dropping below both the moving averages. Let it be the 50, let it be the 200. We are now dropping below them. That is not a positive look for Ether. With all that's happening on the X.com or the Twitter, you're now getting a lot of information that this network is kind of a bullshit network. It's more than centralized. That means there can be a lot of movement out from this network and the value can actually flow out. Great. Now, that's just looking at the sentiment of the market. Then you go on looking at BNB. Like, this is one of the important token there. When FTX collapsed, it was the FTT which pulled them down. Now, I'm like, okay, let's actually watch this and see what the hell is happening here. Because if there is a concern, we should know that this is your support. We are at a support. That's okay. That's cool. But if you break that support, the next range of support comes all the way back down. That won't be a good thing to see. But what we have to understand is there has been times when we have actually capitulated like this, where you have this range. That capitulation marked the bottom and you just went up, boom. So that means there can be a shakeout. There can be one. You cannot neglect the fact that something can come on the way. Because as you go out onto a macro scale chart, yes, we are watching this month. If this month happens to close here, now we only have few days left, a week. So if we get back up early next month or mid next month, it's fine. We're bouncing off that support. We have done that multiple times over the time. So in last 2 years, we have been stable. But the concern comes in when you actually put in a line chart and reduce the noise and you're like, is that a double top? If it's that's concerning, there is no doubt on that front. Now you put candlesticks back and you go on a weekly chart and you're looking at the pattern and you're like, last time it dropped like this, it had a consolidation, it dropped one more. So maybe one more bounce and they retest this range of 180. That can still be a big possibility. So remember, in BNB, if you're watching this 180, that can be a shake. Big shake in a lot of assets which are barely holding on to their supports. The assets which are already trending up, it's completely fine. They're going to just come back down, test that support and bounce off. But the assets which are not trending higher, it's going to be a bully to the downside. We really don't want that to happen in the assets which are holding heavy, but we have to face the reality. If that's what the price action is showing you, you need to be prepared. The key here is this range of support. If you do break this range, it's going to be painful. This is the support which you're watching because it has stayed there for like over a year or close to that. And I'm like, okay, if that's like 6-7 months worth of support resistance, you're not neglecting that. You're saying like, okay, that means for around a year that has ranged there. And when you extend that all the way back up, you kind of get the idea, that's a strong one. You shouldn't actually neglect this. It has been the resistance, it has been the support, and it is right now a support. If you do get a bounce around 200, great. Because last time when you came close to 188, you got that bounce. So this time, if you are going to do that, that means you're making a big bottom, which is great. It's going to go back up. And we do have some orders stuck here. That is going to be the healthy way to look at it. So that's just a couple of assets. But then you move on to the market. You're looking at the further side of it. Bitcoin, last 3 days, we haven't done almost anything. This is cheeky stuff. We haven't moved much. So volatility is coming. Only question here is that to which direction, right? So that's why you'll have to go zooming on a short-term chart. You'll have to go on a 4-hour chart or an hourly chart to look at like, okay, what the hell are we really doing? That's really an interesting side to watch because if you do look at this, there is a probability that the price action is showing you possible double bottom, but we haven't actually confirmed that yet. To confirm that, you have to break through this range. But if you do break to the downside, this becomes your next level of support, which is 26,284 in Bitcoin. Now, is that a bad thing? No. You're watching this on a short-term horizon, so that will show you some panic. But what's the level which is critical for us to hold in Bitcoin? I would say somewhere close to 24,500 is the key range which Bitcoin should actually hold on to. So when we actually plot that, we know what we have talked in the previous video. So you guys kind of have the idea of what the macro structure looks like. But at the same time, don't forget the fact that this is what's happening in the market. If you do understand this narrative, now you kind of have an idea that, okay, the market is kind of doing this. If we bounce back and break this level, it's going to be interesting because we have seen something similar in the past. You kind of come there, you slow down, and then boom, you go back up. So you can actually go into a candlestick to see like what happened there. You kind of slowed down there and broke higher. So can we actually do that? We'll have to wait and see. But this is exactly what's happening. So if you actually tend to see a bounce off from this range, which is $26,000, close to $25,800 to $26,000, it is going to be an interesting move to the upside. Now, yes, obviously the resistance somewhere close to 31, 32 is going to remain there as a strong resistance until you break through those ranges. So that's for Bitcoin. Now you take a look at XRP. If you actually focus on the XRP ledger and the value of XRP today, we're still above this trend line. We do have the macro trend line. We do have the micro trend line. We're watching things. Can we come back down to 0.46 and bounce off? That is still a possibility. You cannot actually neglect that. Now, what does the RSI suggest? Kind of shows you I've already made my double bottom. I really don't want to go back to that range, maybe a little bit, not too much. Now we are zooming out slowly. You want to actually see like, okay, what the hell can I actually understand from the RSI? The RSI shows like, okay, I've broken to the downside and now I'm coming back up to retest this range. Remember, historically, we have actually seen these kind of movements in the market coming into play. You drop, you come back to the retest, and sometimes you break back up and you just start the new trend to the upside. So connect that with the price action, you'll understand those volatility here looks almost similar. So whatever we have talked about in the fundamentals, it stands true. There is no deviation from that. And if you see this breaking back higher in a month or two, it goes parabolic. Remember, the SI family was already informed about this possibility because you don't actually have to break through into the overbought territory. The first bounce which came back up to test that range was just a little bit of strength. That showed like just with a little bit of bias, they were able to push the price sky high. Sellers are absolutely weak. So we are at a support, we're trying to bounce off, we're kind of repeating the history. When you go on the macro chart, this is what you're literally watching. The MACD shows you I've crossed to the upside, the volume is still on the upside. Don't bet against me. Don't do that. It may not end well because this is a monthly chart you're watching. When it goes in red, it goes in red, deep red. When it goes in green, it goes in green, deep. Bet in that direction. That's what I'm doing. So the thought process is if you're holding on to this asset, great. Your decision looks really correct to me. Then you go on looking at the Bitcoin dominance to see which kind of altcoins may actually run up. Bitcoin dominance is still trending higher. That gives you an idea of which direction this is moving. So take that as an advantage. You can see a lot of different assets which are still trending lower, but giving you some kind of idea. See, if you actually look at this, for me, this looks like an opportunity. The price is trending to the downside. And if you look at the bottom point, the RSI is showing you, nah, I'm going to the other side. You actually saw a breakout, a retest, and a bounce. That's some juicy movements, right? It can actually bounce off. And if you have a little bit of patience, it can come all the way up here. You may literally get a decent ROI structure forming here. So yes, you'll have to wait for a breakout. And as soon as it breaks to the upside, that was a wrong tool. As soon as it actually breaks to the upside, you're going to watch the price action do around 150%. Now, 150% is not a bad deal if it's happening in a month or two. But understand, the market is showing you it's trying to bounce off close to a support, making a Wyckoff spring pattern. Still, it's trending lower. So the ROI here is much lower. The assets which are trending higher, boom, they are going to go to the upside. And they will surprise you in my humble opinion. If this video literally delivered value for your time, smash that like button for me. I appreciate that a lot. If you guys are actually looking for value on different assets, jump onto the Patreon and take benefit of what's happening right now. Because if you see that history is about to repeat and you're going to see market going parabolically to the upside, I don't believe a lot of you should actually miss on what's coming. You will see there is going to be a breakout. You will definitely see the market showing you the right signal. And when these kind of big movements come, I believe you should be in there. Because if you are entering after a huge breakout, you kind of miss the actual big run up. So positioning yourself well in advance is going to be super important. That's it for today, guys. I'll meet you on the next video. Bye for now.